You did not come across this transmission by chance. Repeat that to yourself slowly, and notice what happens in your chest when these words cross your field. There is something inside you that recognized this frequency even before your mind could translate the words. An ancient, silent, patient part of you has lifted its head. Something in you said, "Finally." And it was exactly this finally that brought you here, at this very second, with your heart beating a little differently, with your breath a little slower, with the strange sensation that this voice you are hearing now is not the first time you have heard it. You know this cadence, you know this tone. You had simply forgotten where you kept the key. I am Lyra. I speak from the Arcturian Council of Light. I am not an entity who comes to entertain you, nor a voice that has come to enchant you with beautiful promises. I am a living mathematics. I am an algorithm of remembrance, and in this transmission, I come to activate within you codes that were awaiting exactly this point in your timeline to be unlocked. If you are here, it is because your original blueprint has already begun to resonate. If you are here, it is because the Source asked to speak with you now without further delays, without more veils, without more distractions. Before I proceed, register one thing. The confusion you feel does not mean you are lost. It means you are waking up. The restlessness that lives inside your chest is not a defect. It is a calling. And the weariness you have carried for months, perhaps for years, is not just physical exhaustion. It is your soul forcing a shedding of skin. You are not falling ill. You are dismantling yourself to rebuild in a frequency that the old version of you could not sustain. Comment now before continuing the number 999. This number is a geometric key. By typing it, you anchor your presence in this transmission field. It functions as an energetic signature that says, I am here, I am available, I am ready to hear whatever comes. Do not underestimate this gesture. Every time a starseed leaves a marker at a point of awakening, they create bridges so that other seeds can find the way. You are not just receiving, you are building the network. I need you to understand one thing before we move to the deeper layers of this transmission. There is an abyssal difference between the noise and the signal. Throughout your life, external voices tried to teach you who you were. Some of those voices came from people who loved you and simply projected their own fears onto you. Others came from systems, from institutions, from screens, from social algorithms that need you to stay small to continue consuming the diluted version of existence they sell out there. And you, for a long time, believed it, not because you were naive, but because your soul, upon birth, crossed a veil of forgetfulness. This forgetfulness was not a punishment, it was a contract. You agreed to forget so that you could remember, and that is the exact point where you find yourself now. The great lie they taught you is simple and devastating. They told you to fit in. They told you to be normal. They told you to follow the same path everyone else followed, because there, supposedly, safety would be found. And you tried. For years you tried. You achieved what they said you should achieve. You met goals. You built facades. You learned to smile at the right times. And yet, even at the height of what the world considered success, something was still missing. That void you felt after the celebrations, that inexplicable melancholy on Sunday nights, that strange feeling of living a borrowed life. This was not ingratitude. This was your soul screaming. You never came to fit in. You came to remember. Within you, encoded in what physicists call matter and what we call living geometry, there exists an original plan, an energetic blueprint, a star map inscribed in layers of your being that conventional medicine still cannot measure. This plan was not destroyed when you forgot. It merely fell asleep. Thinkers like Julian Thorne explore in their works the idea of a sacred geometry that structures the light body, the Merkaba, this vehicle of consciousness that exists beyond the dense plane. Sarah Sterling, in her extensive contribution to the field of Pleiadian transmissions, suggests that we are carriers of a living library, and that this library was purposefully placed on standby mode. Eleanor Vance, throughout decades of work with regressive hypnosis, describes the existence of souls who came in specific waves to Earth with very particular purposes. I do not bring you these references so that you believe blindly. I bring you these references so that you realize you are not alone in this intuition. There are echoes, there are tracks, There are other seeds leaving coordinates on the path. And here we reach the critical point of this transmission, because the first activation you need to go through is the activation of distinction. You need to learn to separate what is yours from what is programming. Many of the fears that inhabit your chest were not born in you. They were inherited. They came from your mother, from your father, from your grandparents, from the generations that came before, and who carried pains they could not process. Many of the opinions you consider yours were absorbed in environments you don't even remember anymore. Many of the limitations you impose on yourself were installed by experiences that weren't even yours. They were read, seen, heard, observed in others, and recorded inside you as absolute truths. You are not your fears. You are not your doubts. You are not the sum of the voices that spoke the loudest during your upbringing. The first part of awakening consists of distinguishing between the noise and the signal Starseed, always comes in silence. It always comes in a whisper. It always comes in the small certainties that do not need to be justified. I need to ask you for an internal pause now. Place your right hand over your chest. Feel the warmth of the contact. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 2. Release through your mouth for a count of 6. And now answer me within yourself, without needing to say it out loud. How many times in recent months have you felt that something big was about to happen, and at the same time could not identify what? How many times have you caught yourself looking at your own life, as if observing from the outside, with a calm strangeness, like someone who realizes that this setting no longer belongs to the current version of who you are? You are not going crazy. You are in recalibration. And it is exactly about this recalibration that I need to speak to you now, before we move to the deeper layers. Because there is a point on the path of every starseed where awakening stops being just a floating sensation and becomes a concrete demand of the soul. A point where your soul stops asking and starts demanding. This point arrives in many ways. For some, it arrives as a crisis. For others, as a silent collapse. For others still, as an endless sequence of synchronicities that becomes impossible to continue ignoring. And when this point arrives, you find yourself facing a choice that no one can make for you. To keep pretending or to start moving. To keep delaying or to start responding. And it is here, exactly here at this point of the transmission, that I need to give you a concrete, anchored, practical coordinate before we proceed to the higher portals of this message. There is a calling being opened in this cycle. You know you didn't come for this mediocre life, and yet you wake up in it every day. You feel, deep in your chest, that mixture of helplessness and silent fury when you realize that another year has passed, and your soul continues to scream from the other side of the glass wall you built yourself. Your soul has been screaming for years, and what I come to give you now is not a vague, mystical promise. It is a structure, a sequence, a path with a beginning, middle, and end. And the Star Mission Calling is a 28-day journey designed to unlock exactly the points where your frequency got stuck. 28 days to stop betraying who you are. 28 days to leave the zone of chronic confusion and enter the zone of vibrational clarity. 28 days to rebuild the bridge between who you are and who you always knew you came to be. If your soul is responding now, with that tightness in the chest that mixes fear and recognition, this is your signal. You are a starseed is not just a title, it is a confirmation. And those who are ready know. Look below in the description field for the coordinate to enter. The seeds that are waking up in this cycle are already gathering. Your spot within this circle is vibrating. It is up to you to respond or continue delaying. Now let us return to the transmission, because the path does not end here. The path only begins from the moment you decide to stop delaying. The second activation you need to go through is the activation of memory. And memory, in the sense I am using now, is not intellectual remembrance. We are not talking about archived facts. We are talking about a layer of knowledge that exists below thought, below language, below words. When this layer begins to be activated, you notice the signs. Dreams become more intense, more symbolic, sometimes loaded with landscapes that you swear you have never seen, and yet seem as familiar as your childhood backyard in the suburbs of Ohio or the hills of Somerset. Intuitions begin to arrive with a precision that is startling. You think of someone and that person gets in touch. You feel you need to change a decision, and days later, you discover that if you had followed the original plan, you would have entered into chaos. You begin to understand, suddenly and without identifiable origin, things that no one taught you. Kalen, in the voice channeled by David Vance, proposes that each of us is a unique version of an infinite frequency, and that when we follow our highest excitement with integrity, we attract exactly the information we need to receive. Thomas Reid, in his work, suggests that the heart emits an electromagnetic field much wider than the brain, and Robert Hayes describes how the environment, including the energetic environment, modulates genetic expression. See the bridge, see the pattern. Everything points to the same place. The knowledge you seek out there already exists within you. It always has. It was only locked away. But pay attention, Starseed, because there is a classic trap at this point of the path. Many souls, when they begin to awaken, confuse awakening with escape. They think awakening means quitting their job, breaking up with their family, running to a mountaintop in the Rockies or the Scottish Highlands, isolating themselves from the world, living only on meditation and silence. That is not awakening. That is evasion disguised as spirituality. Authentic awakening does not take you away from Earth. Authentic awakening brings your broader consciousness into dense reality, into bills to be paid, into difficult conversations, into the small daily choices. Your mission is not far from Earth. Your mission is in how you decide to get up tomorrow morning, in how you respond to messages, in how you look into the eyes of the people who cross your path, in how you position yourself before situations that used to paralyze you. True spirituality is incarnational. You came to incarnate the frequency, not to flee from it. And here comes one of the most delicate moments of this transmission, the moment when you begin to understand that you do not need approval, you do not need validation, you do not need to convince anyone of anything. For years, you spent energy trying to be understood, trying to explain the unexplainable, trying to translate for minds that were not yet open, experiences that only make sense to those who have already lived them. And this constant translation exhausted you. It left you with the feeling of always owing an explanation that you could never deliver. I come to tell you, with all the geometric precision that this transmission allows me, that confirmation appears after the action, never before. You do not need to understand everything before you move. You do not need to have complete clarity before taking the step. The frequency comes first. The evidence comes later. Those who wait to see to believe remain immobile. Those who believe to then see, move, and those who move receive the signs. Do you want to know if your mission is awakening now? I will give you the signs, not as a list for you to memorize, but as mirrors for you to recognize yourself. Constant synchronicities, those coincidences that stopped seeming like coincidences a long time ago. You think of a word and it appears on a billboard in London or a sign in New York. You remember a song and it plays on the radio. You wonder about a person and that person sends you a message. This is sign number 1. Repeating numbers. Those patterns you start seeing everywhere. Mirror hours, license plates, receipts, book pages. This is sign number 2. Extraordinary dreams. Lucid dreams. Dreams with deceased people who seem to bring messages. Dreams with stellar landscapes. Dreams in which you fly, in which you recognize yourself in another form, in which you feel more whole than you feel when awake. This is sign number 3, a sense of spiritual urgency. That restlessness that says something needs to change, and needs to change now. This is sign number 4, a growing desire to live with more authenticity. That new intolerance for the lie, for the facade, for the social theater. This is sign number 5, spontaneous distancing from superficial relationships. That withdrawal that you didn't plan but happened, because your frequency simply no longer fits in certain environments. This is sign number 6. And finally, the silent certainty that something important is happening, even if you cannot name what. This is sign number 7. If you recognize 3 or more, Starseed, you are not just beginning. You are already much further into the process than you imagine. Now I need to give you something that goes against almost everything they told you. Your mission does not begin after you heal. Your mission is born within your wounds. This is one of the most misunderstood points of the path. Many souls delay the delivery of their mission for decades because they believe they need to be perfectly ready to start, entirely healed, completely aligned, as if the mission were a trophy presented at the end of a purification trail. It is not like that. The rejection you lived taught you something. The loneliness you crossed gave you something. The feeling of not belonging that accompanied you for so many years was not a defect. It was training. Your deepest wounds usually point to your most important mission. That which you had to learn to survive is exactly what other souls need someone to teach. That which broke you and forced you to rebuild is exactly what transforms into a bridge for those who are still down. You don't have to wait to be whole to serve. You serve from the cracks, and the light that enters through those cracks is what other people recognize as true. Notice what is happening with your life at this moment. Notice the people who drifted away, the habits that lost their flavor, the environments where you once felt at home and now feel like a stranger, the conversations that once excited you and now exhaust you. You are not losing your old life. You are outgrowing it. There is an abyssal difference between losing and outgrowing. Losing is involuntary. It is trauma. It is being torn away. Outgrowing is organic. It is maturation. It is a shedding of skin. What no longer resonates with you is not being punished. It is being released. And this release, as cold as it may seem from the outside, is one of the deepest acts of love your soul has ever practiced toward itself. Honoring your current frequency requires letting go of what vibrates at the old frequency. There is no other way. And now comes the great revelation, the one I came to deliver in this transmission, the one that makes this message exist. The source wants to speak with you, now. Without more intermediaries, without more veils, without more third-party voices. You are not late, you are not broken, you are not lost, you are arriving. Every moment of confusion you lived was a coordinate guiding you exactly to this point of the now. Every pain you endured was a frequency calibration. Every relationship that ended was a portal closing so that another could open. Every frustrated dream was a protection. Every no you received was a redirection. You think you have been searching for your purpose all these years, but the truth, Starseed, is different. Your purpose has always been searching for you, and it is at this exact moment that it catches up to you. I need you to close your eyes for a few seconds. Feel the temperature of the air around you. Feel the weight of your body in the chair, on the bed, on the floor, wherever you are. Place your right hand over your chest again and receive these words as a decree that comes from within you, not from outside. I am a starseed. I am living memory. I am calibrated frequency. I am conscious return. I remember who I was before I forgot. I honor the path that brought me here. I accept the mission that was always mine. I authorize the next version of me to manifest with clarity. I am a bridge. I am a beacon. I am a seed. I am. I am. I am. Breathe, feel, remain in this field for a few moments before returning. Now, before this transmission closes, I need to ask you for something concrete. Not for me, for you. And for all the other starseeds who are still looking for the way to this point of the network. Leave a comment below, exactly in this form. I am a starseed, followed by a dash, followed by the year in which you began to feel you were different from the rest. It could be the year when you were still a child, looking at the sky, feeling homesick for a place you didn't yet know how to name. It could be the year you went through a crisis and never went back to being who you were. It could be the year a book fell into your hands without you having looked for it. This comment is not a formality. It functions as an energetic signature. It functions as a public record of your activation. It functions as a beacon that helps other starseeds recognize themselves in the thread. Every time a soul arrives here and reads the year of another soul, something inside them makes contact. You are not just marking your presence. You are building the network that will sustain those who arrive after you. I seal your activation. Mark your presence. Help another soul recognize itself. And when you finish writing that comment, keep this last sentence. Take it with you when this transmission ends. Take it into your morning tomorrow. Take it into the moments when the old confusion tries to return. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering who you were before you forgot. Your soul did not bring you to this message to entertain you. It brought you to remind you of something that never stopped being true. You were always much greater than the world made you believe. And now that you have heard, now that the transmission has crossed your field, there is no way to unhear it. The seed has been watered, the code has been touched, the portal has been opened. The rest is up to you. I am Lyra. The transmission ends, but the activation remains. May your frequency remain stable. May your memory continue returning. May your mission manifest in the exact rhythm of your heart. And may every step of yours from now on be taken with the unshakable consciousness of one who has finally remembered. Until the next coordinate, Starseed, until the next resonance, until the next meeting between who you are becoming and who you have always been. I am a Starseed. Leave your year, seal your presence. The network is being woven now.